Alright, so I'm up early as usual, and I just figured I would give a little background story on me, Jen, and my friend Jen Yoha. So I met Jen Yoha sometime after I moved here to Pennsylvania. She is friends with Gino's childhood friend's girlfriend, or she was. They're not friends anymore. It's fine. They all suck. They all suck ass. But regardless, these are the people that I was around hanging out with when I first moved here because I didn't know anybody. These people can't keep their lights on, pay their bills, blah, blah, blah. But these are my friends. So I'm like getting to know these people. I do end up liking Jen. But as time goes on, I watched her and Nikki's friendship fall apart. Lots of friendships because of her always getting involved in other people's business. That's the reason why. Interfering in people's and meddling in people's marriages and relationships. She's a meddler. So she started doing this with me and Gino, and I stopped talking to her. And I told her I was going to stop talking to her. She didn't stop calling and interfering with me and Gino. And so I did stop talking to her, and I didn't talk to her for probably at least a year. And I didn't talk to her for at least a year, and then suddenly my kids are taken, and her sister, her sister has not spoke to me since I've been out of jail, even though I've gone to out to dinner with her family once for some type of holiday when I was living with Jen. Easter. No, it wasn't Easter. But anyways, or Madeline's birthday. I forget what it was. Someone's birthday. But regardless, we were friends. All of us were friends. Her sister has a more normal life, I guess you could say. Her name is Angela. So Angela and I were Facebook friends, and then Angela sees that one day my kids are ripped off of me, apparently, or it was Jen just using her sister's Facebook to spy on me, probably this whole time. So then Jen starts reaching out to me after I lost my kids, and there was a short time period of me losing my kids and these charges coming out for me. So she follows all of my case stuff online, even when we weren't friends, because she's a nosy meddler. So she comes to my house one morning. This is like, I'm going back to work. I worked at home because I have to go back to work to make money to try to get my kids back now. And I'm trying to go back to work, and I'm still in shock. Work, who knows what happened with my work. This is just all too much for them too. So Jen comes to my house that morning, and I go into work and she leaves. We were sitting outside, and then she calls me within minutes of leaving and calling me and calling me and calling me. She said that she had just looked at my case when I left, or when she left, and that I need to get out of Dodge basically right now because I'm going to be arrested at any moment. And that just really threw me into shock. I had no idea what she was talking about and wiretapping. And so that's when I took off. And then I ended up at my friend Beth's house in Yellow Springs, Ohio. And basically I stopped talking to Jen while I was on the run because there's other issues, same issues. And regardless, she's my friend out here, and then I got all my friends back home in Ohio. So I make plans with Dr. Fishman and Elizabeth to take Belle. I'm not even speaking to Jen. And then I show up at my house, however many weeks on the run, laying low. At this point, I had Blaine Jones once I ran got into Ohio after I left, after Jen told me, and I ended up at my friend Beth's house, I get Blaine Jones on the scene. And he's telling me to lay low while he works this out, blah, 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 blah. And then I ended up in stress and panic and shock back at my house in Murraysville. And that's when police showed up within minutes and arrested me. So then I'm in jail. Horrible experience. I don't know anybody's phone numbers, blah, 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 blah. So then Jen starts writing me letters in jail, like, I know you're mad at me, blah, blah, blah. And then she like takes over as like my spokesperson while I'm in jail. She goes to my house, and I don't know what all happened, but she goes to my house and meets Gino there. Gino sends Christian in, gets bags of his clothes. Basically, Gino came and got all my kids' beds, dressers, clothes, and I'm fine with that. Their TVs, never got them back. The one picture on the wall that I think you guys remember me saying and that I wanted while I was on the run, I these 2 giant pictures on the wall of my kids, she willingly just gave them to Gino, who could give 2 shits about pictures, and I'm sure we got into some sort of fight because I even got the pictures of my kids when they were little. So she gives them to him. She's getting rid of all of my shit. She's the one up here. My dad did come up and try to help, and they're fighting, they're arguing. My dad and Laura are trying to tell me that Jen is bad news and is stealing and blah, blah, blah. And she's trying to tell me the same about my dad. Well, then I come to get out on bond. I'm like telling them Jen's fine at this point. She's helping me. So then I'm about to get out on bond. And Jen is like helping my dad and Laura facilitate this because she's here, you know. Which in reality my dad and Laura could have done just fine. My dad drove all the way here from Pennsylvania to pick me up from jail because Jen wasn't available to pick me up from jail. That's fine. So he drove all the way out here to get me, to take me to Jen's, after basically him and Jen fought about where I was going to live with either him or her when I got out of jail. They were arguing about this. They both wanted me to come stay with them. I, at the end of the day, probably was bullied into going to live with Jen, thinking the courts gave me the option to go actually to either place, my dad's in Ohio or Jen's. And because I just thought, she, you know, when she's telling me, you need to live here, it'll be better, blah, 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 even though I wasn't even able to see my kids for months and months. And then the coronavirus happened, and they were intentionally keeping them for me for months. So I saw them like one time or twice, these supervised visits, then the customer, anyways, but I could have easily done all of these things living in Ohio and being better taken care of. Yes, my brother and his crazy felon girlfriend, I like to call her, do live there at my dad's house, and that honestly was the detour of me wanting to live at my dad's house as well. But I ended up having to be pushed to live at my dad's house because honestly, I was so insanely depressed at Jen's. Jen like wants to own me like a fucking dude. Like a dude wants to own me. This is why I stay single, because I already have my estranged husband still owning me and controlling me. And now I got fucking Jen wanting to do the same. So she really treated me horrible. She treats her kids fucking horrible. She treated her fucking dog fucking horrible. Didn't feed it. All kinds of issues with these kids. It was fucking a living hell living on her couch. It was a fucking living nightmare. It's probably why it is when I started smoking cigarettes, but she smoked, and it was honestly the best thing that I had going for me is smoking cigarettes at her house. Well, then it just all got too much to bear. They're all getting sick. It's COVID. Her whole fucking house is like throwing up and ill, and I just had to get the fuck out of there. So, and I obviously wasn't able to get on my feet. I could not get on my fucking feet there. So then I moved home with my dad. I'm working more, and I was able to get more on my feet at my dad's house and have my own room and have my dad there making me breakfast. And yes, I did deal with some drama with the girlfriend while I was there, but for the most part, we decided to get along and she was being nice to me, other than what she does for a living is steal people's things and sell them online. Jen did similar things, I think, to me. One day I got a letter in jail when she said she was facilitating all this, getting my stuff into a storage unit. Really, it all just like went missing. And then she said that my landlord got a dumpster and threw all my stuff away. Well, then I got out of jail. I went back to my house and I was able to, get things that were left behind. And I did do that. And I'm pretty sure I recorded it. But some of my family pictures were there. Keepsakes, some of my kids' toys, things that weren't of value to other people, but were of value to me. All my curtains in my house. Just some things that people just were too lazy to take down and sell, or were not of value to sell because they were only of value to me. So she did save me a bag of my clothes. What would have happened to those? I don't know. But my dad did save me my stuff too, and she tried to convince me that my dad was the one stealing the shit, which I was leery because of this whole brother's girlfriend who lives in the house. I didn't know what was going on. So then I move to Ohio. I come back here. I'm getting on my feet. living in Irwin in a one-room apartment. Then I end up moving back here to Murraysville area. And I don't know. I mean, it's just too much stress having Jen as my friend because she wants to be up in my business so much. She will log. She knows. I've heard me feeling like she's my only person here has really got me into trouble trusting her. She logs into my court apps. She sends messages. She logs into my email and sends messages to attorneys. And then when I'm trying to take over my own case, she gets mad, doesn't want me to do videos because she's fucking a jealous control freak. Doesn't want me to date anybody, has a problem with everything. While her kids, I mean, Jackson just had to have like all of his teeth, and he's 7, like all of his teeth in his whole head, like removed to those caps, those silver caps. The doctor says her daughter is obese. Her son is basically near anorexic. I'm like wondering, do they not feed him like they didn't feed the dog? Well, then all of this stuff happens with the dog, and let's say I gave her the dog never to want him back 4 weeks ago. Regardless of all of that, I mean, she's bullying me, wanting my fucking dog, wanting the dog. You can have him back at any time. You can come get him anytime. Let me just help you out, watch him, take him to the park for you while you're gone, blah, blah, blah. So anyways, really, she just wanted a fucking boxer. She wanted a boxer. That's what she wanted. So, and I had one. And my dad just died in July, and I drove all the way out there to get him. And knowing that Dr. Fishman and Elizabeth stole my dog, Yorkie, while I was in jail, if I want my dog, you should bring me my dog if you're my fucking friend. So I'm texting her. I can read through my texts at some point, where I think I said earlier. Well, then she's just like avoiding me, and I'm like, well, I'm going to have to call the Monroeville police or talk to my police officer friend Floyd to see what's next if you're not going to respond to me about this. So then she sends me like a real nasty message, like basically telling me that I'm telling her that Floyd is going to come shake her down, which is absolutely not what I said at all. So I did call the Del Monte police and left them a message yesterday. They called me back. They were very nice and wanted to help, and then they start looking into this. Well, Jen had already called me the day before, so she's calling me, and she was calling me at a time she knew I couldn't answer my phone. And so then I answer, and she tells me like a fucking bully fucking bitch to stop harassing her. Why are you fucking calling me over and over to tell me to stop harassing you? Just give me back my shit and leave me the fuck alone. I mean, when Mike's sister died, that was a fucking cash grab for her. And and Mike. And I even gave them $100 that I didn't have because